Here's how the Eagles moved to 5-0. Backup kicker Amendola missed it. He had a chance to tie it with about 20 seconds to go in the fourth quarter, and he missed it. Welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. Ike.
Victory! Woo!
It was close. I didn't know if we were going to get that today.
5-0, ladies and gentlemen.
Third time in franchise history.
5-0.
It's not always going to be pretty, right?
Yeah.
You go on the road. It's a West Coast trip after an emotional win last week in the weather against Doug Peterson. You got Dallas next week, prime time. Come out, have a big, hard-earned win here on both sides of the football. Not pretty on either side, but the Eagles earned this victory.
And look, good teams find ways to win. There was going to be a game where Jalen Hurts wasn't going to throw for 1,000,000 yards, and they were going to have over 400 yards of total offense. And Miles Sanders and A.J. Brown were going to have career days. Sometimes that's just not going to happen. But good teams find a way to win, and that's what happened today.
Yeah, it reminds me of a game back in 2004. I can't remember exactly what our record was, but I remember going into Cleveland, and that was pretty much a W in the ledger as we approached that game. But Cleveland gave us everything they had in that game, wound up having to go into overtime and win it on a David Akers field goal back in 2004. You're just going to have these type of games. The Eagles are now the hunted, and when you're the best team in the league, you become the big game on the opposing team schedule. You're going to get their best effort. That's what you got from Arizona today. The Eagles didn't necessarily play their A-plus game, but they played well enough, and they made the big plays late in the game to win a game like this. This is what championships are made out of. Wins like this, when you aren't at your best and you still find a way to get the W.
To your point, that game was week 6. That put the Eagles to 6-0. So very similar part of the schedule to go on the road and beat the Cleveland Browns that year. To Ike's point, I think you look at this and say, all right, offensively, things you got to clean up. Red zone was not ideal this week here in this game. Red zone penalties. They couldn't finish for the touchdown at the end of the game. Had to settle for that field goal. Defensively, you couldn't get off the field on third down well enough in the middle of this game. Late in the game, you had 3 straight drives of 10-plus plays. But at the end of the day, you come away with this win and you get ready for Dallas next week.
First time the Eagles have won in Arizona since 2001. The drought is finally
I think I was
over.
on that team, too.
You're on your rookie contract.
Let's talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. Not his best game this season, but like we said, a win's a win. But when you dig into kind of the numbers, he was the leading rusher on this offense today. We haven't had to see him do that through 4 games this season. We know Jalen Hurts. He puts the team on his back whenever it's needed. That's what he did today. But obviously, you don't want to see your quarterback being the team's leading rusher every week.
Yeah, a lot different from what we saw last week when they played Jacksonville. But this is what the game called for today, is for Jalen to use his legs at times. He made timely throws when he needed to. I think about that Goedert third down conversion late when Arizona gave him an all-out blitz. Jalen knew where to go with the football. You're just going to have these type of games. There's more tape on the Eagles offense, so defensive coordinators are going to be able to come up with different ways to sort of slow you down and try to get you out of your comfort zone. I didn't think the Eagles looked like they were comfortable offensively all game today, but they found ways to make plays, and that's what good football teams do. When something's not working for you, you have to find a way to get the job done, and that's what they did today.
You mentioned a guy there who I thought was outstanding in this game, and that's Dallas Goedert. 8 for 95 here on the day. He had that huge 31-yard reception down the seam in the second half, but a bunch of screens and short plays that he turned into big gains in the first half that helped set up Eagles scoring drives. I think when you look at Dallas Goedert, run game also, a couple of big highlights here in this game. Excited to see what he looked like on tape.
We're going to keep rolling here, but I just want to remind fans that in the Facebook comments, you can ask Ike any question you have. We'll air it right here on the show, and Ike will answer your questions. He's feeling good.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of his ability, of course. So put your questions in the Facebook comments. Let's talk a little bit about the defense. When you're game planning for Kyler Murray, he's a different type of quarterback. He's not just going to sit back there and throw. We know what he can do with his legs. We know how he can extend plays. I thought I was going to see a little bit more pressure from the Eagles defense.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a catch-22 when you're playing against a guy like Kyler Murray that can beat you with his arm. He certainly has the arm talent that made him the #1 overall pick in the draft, but he also has the ability to extend plays with his legs, and that puts your secondary in a quandary because now they have to cover a little longer. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine Jonathan Gannon had to mix and match what he wanted to do against Kyler today. Am I aggressive at times, or do I sit back with a little bit of a mush rush and force Kyler to read the defense and make the throws there? You know, they still held this Arizona Cardinals offense to just 17 points. They got the interception off of him early in the game, as you see here from CGJ. But it's always difficult when you're a defensive coordinator facing a guy like Kyler Murray. A lot like Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, even Jalen Hurts to the extent. These defensive coordinators, it's difficult on them, right? Do you bring extra guys, or do you sit back and make the diminutive quarterback beat you with his arm? And for the Eagles to only give up 17 points, I know they gave up some yardage late in the game, a couple of those drives where they were giving up 10-play drives, and Arizona was able to put points on the board. I thought for the most part, the Eagles did a great job with the big plays. They didn't allow big plays today defensively.
Yeah, I think when you're going up against Kyler, to your point, I thought you summed it up perfectly this week on Eagles game plan, Ike, in that when you're going up against a guy like Kyler Murray, you have to worry about containing him, but you still want to rush him. You still want to pressure him and force him into some of those mistakes. Now, I think what you saw here from the Eagles defense, trying to figure out, how do we want to do that? Do we want to rely on our defensive line to be able to win one-on-one and devote more bodies in coverage? Marquise Brown, they were funneling the football to him the last couple of weeks, so finding ways to be able to keep Kyler contained without sending extra rushers at him and make sure you devote more to coverage. You have that kind of cat and mouse as an offense, and I thought Arizona, they did a nice job trying to create some easy completions for Kyler. The ball came out very, very fast, so the defensive line couldn't always get home. Second half, what are the adjustments? We saw more blitzing in the last couple of drives from this Eagles defense.
And the Cardinals offense, they were playing pretty inspired in that second half. They came out and they thought, you know, we're kind of in this with the Eagles. This is we're not by any means getting blown out right now. And they came out and they played inspired. And I think the offense as a whole operated that way. There was a lot of rhythm. They picked up the tempo at times. So really impressive performance by the Cardinals. But like I said at the top of the show, good teams find ways to win.
Yeah, and this, to me, you know, if you watched Arizona this year, this may have been their best game that they played. Mm-hmm. You know, when you think about some of the losses that they've had this year, even their wins have not been impressive. But this was one of their more impressive games where they stayed in the game. They got down by 14. They're playing at home. They gave a spirited effort. And to me, when you're the Eagles and you're playing against a team like this, you just need to find a way to get the W in the end. And when they're riding back on that plane and they're looking at that 20-17 final score, it may not have been pretty, but it certainly makes for an easier plane ride back home.
It feels feeling like crap on my ride home, right? Yep. I think at the end of the day, you look at this Eagles the Eagles offense going up against that defensive front. J.J. Watt, Zach Allen, two really good players for them up front. And the Eagles did not have a lot of continuity on the offensive line in this game. Injuries in and out. That's tough to prepare for when you have that talent up front pair with that blitzing scheme.
You mentioned all the injuries across that offensive line. Jordan Mailata was inactive before the game began. Jack Driscoll filled in for him at left tackle. Landon Dickerson was out for a little bit. Sua Opeta went in for him. Cam Jurgens replaced Jason Kelsey for a little bit. As difficult as that is, they made it as smooth as possible, and that was like putting on a clinic for what it takes to build in the trenches. I mean, that just showed the depth that the Eagles have here at O-line.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Great depth along this offensive line. You certainly want to keep Landon Dickerson out there, as he's one of their best offensive linemen. Great seeing him get back in there and fight through whatever injuries he had throughout the game to get back out there with his guys. But, you know, that's a testament to Jeff Stoutland, the best offensive line coach in football. You know, when you have your backups ready to go and you don't necessarily have to alter your entire game plan to try to protect guys on the offensive line, you can still go through your playbook and run everything else as if your starters were out there. That's a testament to the offensive line coach and the great job he's doing there getting these young guys ready to go at a moment's notice.
Especially the final drive of the game. I mean, that was run, game on the line. I guarantee you, Nick Sirianni is going to talk about that final drive on the offensive side here in this press conference tonight, because when you look at what the Eagles' offensive line was able to do to establish their will, make sure you move the football in a must-have situation, move the ball into scoring territory. They didn't finish for a touchdown. The incomplete pass to Quez Watkins down on the goal line, but when you look at what they did to assert themselves with the run game to close out this one, I think that's one of the big takeaways as well.
Devontae Smith, under the radar, had a career day, 10 receptions for 87 yards. There were 2 passes made to Devontae Smith in that first half where Jalen Hurts was rolling out of the pocket. He found him on the run. It was pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, not what you would coach your quarterback to do, throwing the ball back across the field, but when you have arm talent, you can make those type of throws. And you're right, Ella. 2 ridiculous lasers to Devontae Smith where Jalen was able to keep the play alive. One rolling to his left, able to hit Devontae coming back. Well, there he's rolling to his right. That's a dime that Devontae was able to catch there. And I think it was a couple plays prior to that one where Jalen rolls to his left and he's buying time and he keeps the play alive, and then he hits Devontae Smith right between, well, it's only one number, right between the 6, right between the 6 is where he hit Devontae with that throw.
And just going back offensively, I think the big thing when you say, all right, well, what happened with this offensive performance? Why didn't we see more trips into the end zone? 2 penalties in the red zone will do it to you, right? You had the holding penalty against A.J. Brown. You had the holding penalty against Sua Opeta in the second half. And when you have those red zone penalties, that's tough to overcome. The Eagles were able to do it last week. Remember that touchdown that got them on the board second quarter against the Jaguars where Jalen Hurts took off and scored? That was on a 3rd and 16, right, where he was able to get that big chunk of yardage. Well, that was because of the penalty. They were able to overcome that. In this game, that's tough to do. They were unable to do that numerous times here in this football game. Those penalties, there weren't a lot of them, but the ones that did happen were timely.
Costly, for sure. C.J. Gardner-Johnson with his first interception as an Eagle. He actually led the team today in 10 total tackles. T.J. Edwards, for the first week in 3 weeks, has not been the team's leading tackler. What was going on a little bit today? Some missed tackles. Is it the nature of the Arizona offense that just kind of had them on their heels?
Yeah, get you out in open space and see if they can make you miss one-on-one. I just chalk it up to, this just wasn't the Eagles as a defense their best tackling effort. Right? You want to give Arizona credit. This is the NFL. They have playmakers over there. But this was more or less the Eagles not necessarily playing at their best for whatever reason. And it happens. 17-game schedule. You're going to have those games where you're not maybe at your best. And you certainly have higher expectations. I'm sure these guys look at the film on the way home, and they'll come out ready to go next week. But you almost have to just tip your cap to Arizona. They're still without DeAndre Hopkins on that offensive side of the ball. But Marquise Brown, very good player, former first-round draft pick. I think he was a first-round draft pick. And then you got Rondale Moore, out of Purdue, who's a nice little scat back.
I got to cut you off. The Eagles' leading receiver, Dallas Goedert, at the podium.
Everybody feels pretty good. Just like any other week, we feel like we could have played better, not left it to the line, being able to control the game a little bit better. But shoot, winning the NFL is tough, and we got it done. So it's pretty happy in there. But just like any other week, we got to get ready to go to work next week, big game next week, division game. So we got to be ready for that.
How'd you describe what happened on that 3rd down? I guess it was like late in the game when the blitz.
Yeah. We had a different play on. Jalen did a great job getting to a check, found the open window, and I knew I needed to get the first down. I was going to do whatever I could to get the first down, keep the chains moving, keep the clock ticking. That was a hell of a drive by our offense, taking off 6 or whatever minutes off the clock, not giving them a lot of time. Proud of all the guys.
Was the route you ran there because of the blitz? Were you the hot option at that time?
Probably not the hot option, but I'm probably the quickest option. I don't think that play has any hots. It's just a pretty quick 3-step. Jalen will drift and find who's ever open, and he did that and helped us get that dub.
This was your most productive game of the season. What worked for you today?
Coach was calling plays to get me the ball. Took advantage of it. But just like any other week, it doesn't really matter who's getting the ball. We all got to play as a team and fight and hopefully come out on top like today.
Do you know Dicker at all? Is it weird when the guy who hits the game-winning kick is so good at the team?
Dicker the kicker, man. He came in. Just like anything, we got a tight-knit group, and it doesn't matter who comes in. We're family. We accept him right away. We knew we needed him, so it was cool getting to know him, hearing his stories from Texas. Some big kicks there, so I had no doubts in my mind with him coming here.
Dallas, what was the play that Jalen audibled out of and two?
Yeah, so, they were both passes. The first one was kind of more of a man beater with time if they were in a two-man or like a dog blitz, but since they brought zero, he checked it to something else to get it a little bit quicker, and he read it out just right.
Dallas, you took about 8 minutes off the clock on that final drive, and it was mainly runs, so how much pride do you take to take that much time off the clock running the football?
As a whole offense, we take a lot of pride in that. The running game wasn't going great for us in the first half, but when we needed it, we put our foot down and got it done. Kelsey, him coming back out there after his injury, he's a dog. Jack Driscoll played great coming in for Jordan. Sewell when he was in there. Our O-line is just deep and physical and nasty, and it's a lot of fun to play with those guys.
What was the difference? You kind of said like you guys didn't have a lot of success running the ball early, but then it kind of changed as the game progressed.
I think it was probably just a little bit of us kind of wearing them out. When we started going no huddle, 13 personnel, big personnel, we just kept grinding. You're not going to get those 4 or 5 every time, and we just stuck with it. We had the grit, and we just kept going.
What is it about this team that made you guys play so much 13?
Just the way they handled it. We got some good tight ends that love to be in there, love to block, love to do the dirty work. And anytime we get in 13 personnel, sometimes they stay nickel. So we just have mismatches. They don't have enough big guys for our big guys, so we're able to beat them with that.
Is there something they were doing defensively that made you guys be passing to the perimeter so much, so many of those short passes?
Yeah, just the way they played with number 9 Simmons, him blitzing, different things like that. We thought we had good matchups on the perimeters with little screens, getting the ball in our hands quick and letting the playmakers make plays.
Who about the Tiger jumpsuits? The tight end were mad.
It was Jack's idea. Found them on Amazon. They're a great buy. They look great. Glad we won, so I can wear them home on the plane. Thank you, guys.
Locker room's open. You guys got to go around.
We got our answer, Fran. On the kickoff show, we showed the outfits that the tight ends walked into the stadium in. He said they got them on Amazon. Or will we see?
I was gonna say I can wear it for kickoff show next week. What do you think?
I'd rather see you wear that. I saw that photo of the tight ends, and I was like, wow. It's just, I'm older, so now I can't comment on younger guys in the outfits that they wear.
I'm younger. I can't comment. I got nothing there.
I like it. I like what the tight ends bring. It was good energy.
It's certainly better than what Kyler wore to the game today.
Oh, yeah, you're not lying. I'm not going to argue
All
that.
right. Something that Dallas Goedert just said that we talk about so much is they really struggled to get the ball moving on the ground in the first half, so they relied on the passing game. Yeah. We've been seeing that week after week, where one thing doesn't work, they just go to the other. How much of an asset is that moving forward? Like, it looks good right now, but when you talk about 17 games, you're going to be up against tougher teams, or you're going to be in situations where you got to string together a game-winning drive. How beneficial is having both just really, really excel?
It's huge. It really is. They have the ability to move the ball, whether it's through the air or on the ground, with pure confidence that Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen have in this offense is going to be a huge advantage going down the road. Because, like I said, the more you put on film, the more these defensive coordinators are trying to find something to get you out of your comfort zone. And the great thing about this Eagles offense, with the way Jalen Hurts is playing, it doesn't matter. If you want them to run the football, they have no problem committing to the run game and beating you that way. If you stack the box and say, okay, Jalen, let's see if you can beat me with your arm throwing the football, he is playing at an MVP level early in the season, and that's why this offense is unstoppable. No matter what you choose as a defense, you're choosing wrong. As long as the Eagles execute, they can beat you through the air on the ground.
And that's the beauty of it, is that you could do this through necessity or you could do it through preference, right? If you go into a game and you say, hey, the opposing team is really weak against the run, let's run the ball, or vice versa, well, now you've got that ability. But if you come into a game like today where, just like Dallas Goedert said, hey, we were struggling to run the ball early, so we threw it. We talked about what they did at the end of the game, 4-minute drill to try and go win the game. Well, now, hey, we're going to go run the ball, establish our will. Well, let's go run the football. So I think when you have that ability, you have that versatility, it's a huge strength for your football team.
We got our first Ask Ike question. Let's see what we have. How did the fans impact the game with many Eagles fans showing up in AZ? Dave Spadaro told us in the kickoff show over 30,000 Eagles fans were there.
This fan base never ceases to amaze me, man. The pride that they take and going on the road, supporting this football team, and really taking over stadiums and making sure that they are heard. I can remember this 20-plus years ago back when I was playing, man. This is what Eagles fans do. They travel well, and again, they take pride in going on the road and being able to be heard. When the home team's offense is out there on the field and you hear the crowd loud, that's the Eagles fans making it uncomfortable for that Arizona Cardinals offense. Something that we as players, I'm a former player, but players currently should never take for granted is the passion and the love in which this fan base has. I guarantee you it was a huge advantage for them, because even when you're struggling on the road, to hear your own fans get behind you and give you that extra push and that support, it's a great feeling to have as a player.
It's at least the two last road games where the opposing offenses had to go silent count in their own stadium. I believe in week 1 they had to do it too, right? In Detroit, am I misremembering that?
It was loud.
I know in Washington they had to do it, and that's a huge impact that you can have on the opposing team. And then you got to think that the guys in green jerseys, the fans in green jerseys, did a great job in the stands for that final kick as well.
How about that?
My gosh.
Yeah. Well, here I am worried about our kicker having to go out there and make that kick late in the game because he just signed.
Kick the line drive.
Man, straight down, straight down the middle. And then you get the Arizona Cardinals kicker. You almost knew when they were showing the highlights of him prior to the game kicking in that same direction and missing wide right. You almost knew that he was thinking about that in his head. Great job, Nick Sirianni, icing the kicker, making him think about that even more. And my goodness, what a shank.
Well, that's the thing is that the broadcast cameras, they're not the only ones that saw that. Eagles coaches absolutely saw that. Special teams coaches are out on the field during pregame warm-up worrying about your guys, but then also, hey, what's the other kicker doing? What's the other punter doing? All right, what are they looking like today? What's their range look like? And if he's struggling, Nick Sirianni, that's a well-placed timeout to ice the kicker late in this game.
But you have to think about, too, of all the injuries that were talked about and up in the air this week. The team stayed pretty tight together this week, considering when you're losing big-time guys like your left tackle, like your kicker. I mean, Jake Elliott is lights out in those types of situations, and knowing you always have him to rely on, it was kind of like, what's going to happen today? How's this going to go?
Yeah, and they have the next man up mentality. I think that's the great thing about this team and the culture that they built with these players here. They have confidence in whoever has on that midnight green helmet each week, and they're going to display that and show that throughout the week so that player isn't nervous going into the game and feels any type of extra pressure. And it's really a testament to the head coach. And like I said, the type of culture that they built here. And winning breeds confidence. And this team feels like they can overcome just about anything as long as there's time still on the clock. They feel like they're going to win the game.
And when you have established veterans on this team, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, you go down the list, Fletcher Cox, that have been here when they've gone to big heights and have won championships, where in 2017, that was a next man up mentality. You know that carries over. That's something that is now ingrained in your culture in that locker room.
Well, Eagles fans, make sure you are in our Facebook comments, asking Ike all the questions. We have another one coming up. You can submit them in the Facebook comments, but let's see what the next one is. What does it take to play at a certain level each week and handle the pressure of being the team to beat? Big target on their back, Ike.
Yeah, and it's not easy making sure that, obviously you want to be undefeated throughout the season, but when you're the hunted, right, now you're the big game on every team's schedule, right? So when you come in there, Arizona is saying, yeah, this is the measuring stick. We got to see if we can knock this team off. And so when you're the hunted, it means you can't skip any steps in the process, throughout the week. Preparing for every opponent as if they're the best team in the league. You almost have to play mental games with yourself so that you can stay motivated and make sure that you're preparing exactly the way you're supposed to, because the moment you don't is when a team will sneak up and beat you that's not supposed to beat you. So the Eagles came into the season, one of these teams looking to prove themselves and feeling like they were hunting some of the better teams, but they've quickly become the hunted as the last remaining undefeated team in the league. Whenever you're up next on the next team's schedule, believe me, they got you circled.
Is that something you talk about, though? Is that something or is that just natural? You guys understand that and no one really talks about it?
You know what? It all depends. I know with us, we weren't afraid to embrace that and talk about it, right? Because in part, we felt like we were still chasing the championship. So even though we were the better team in the NFC, we still felt like we had something to prove. And I bet you that's what the Eagles are feeling. Even though they're the undefeated team, they're going to use how the season ended last year to keep them grounded and motivated and know that they still have that carrot out there that they're chasing. So they have, like Jalen likes to say, not eating the rat poison. You have to be able to block out all the well-wishers and the people that want to pat you on the back and tell you how great you are and have that tunnel vision.
They said this on the broadcast that Jalen Hurts said in the production meeting, yeah, I'm still the quarterback that was 2-5 last year in the beginning of the season. And so he clearly has that mindset, which we've come to expect at this point.
And like you said, it's that outside noise, right? Like when you're good, people love to tell you you're good.
Oh, yeah.
Today they didn't play the football they've been playing the first 4 weeks, so you're going to have people from the outside saying, "Oh, this is their weak spot," or
right.
they're not actually that good.
Yep.
They only beat the Cardinals by 3. They're going to be hearing a lot of that this week, and kind of maintaining that level head about the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of a season is going to be so important.
Well, and these are the games that you almost have to work a little extra to get mentally prepared, right? Because it's not the Dallas Cowboys. It's not one of the other opponents where you know it's a given that you're going to come in ready to go. You're on the road against a team that struggled. So maybe your energy level is not where you wanted to be. But they found a way to fight through that. And the good thing about today's game, that there's enough coaching that can go on with today's game, that these guys, like Jalen likes to say at the end of games, we have a standard that we've set, and if we don't play to that standard, then you can't be satisfied. And I guarantee you, he mentioned that in his post-game breakdown with the team. Hey, great to get the W, but you know we didn't play to our standards today and getting ready for next week. So we won't have a problem with that next week. They'll be ready to go next week.
This week, that won't be an issue.
Yes.
You know that'll be talked about, certainly, this Dallas week upcoming on Sunday Night Football.
Well, a guy who is going to be asked many questions is head coach Nick Sirianni.
Let's go.
Hey, Nick, on that final Cardinals drive up in the stadium, it said 1st and 10 when it was 3rd and 1 when they spiked it. Are you aware of what was your perspective?
I knew it was 4th and 1.
Well, 3rd and 1. He spiked it.
Well, he spiked it and it went to 4th and 1. Yeah, I know what it was.
Your sideline,
We knew what it was, and the stick showed what it was. That's their guys upstairs working the thing. So I don't know what Cliff saw. I don't know what but yeah, that's obviously what happened.
What does it mean to see a kicker come in off the street, basically, and feel like Jake Kelly can make a field goal?
You know, first of all the credit to him. He made the kick in a huge moment, right? And he made another kick in a big moment too, and was perfect on his extra points. But the guys really embraced him. You know, and they put their arms around him, and that's our team. Right? That's our team. They embraced him, made him feel welcome. You know, Aaron and Rick, you know, took him under his arm, and you know, Jake gave him support. So he had a lot of support, and but all the credit goes to him. He made a big play in the whole special teams unit, and that was involved in that.
That last drive, Nick, it was almost the first 9-minute drive in NFL history, but you guys couldn't punch it in. What does it mean to an offensive play caller, though, when you can take that much time off the clock?
Man, maybe the run game wasn't going the way we wanted it to early. Credit to them. I think Coach Joseph's a really good defensive coordinator, and I think they got some really good pieces over there as defensive guys. And you know, Jason Kelsey fought through bumping. We'll let you know what it is here shortly, but he fought through it. Landon Dickerson fought through it. And we knew that this was going to be a physical game. We knew we had a really physical team. We knew our identity is to be physical. And when we needed to the most, we were. And, you know, I know we didn't punch it in. They made a good play there on 3rd down. But we just, you know, our job as coaches is to lean on our best players. And you know, we jumped on our offensive line's back and we rode them down the field. It was really pretty special. And that was, you know, Shane did a great job of calling it. Our offensive line and backs and tight ends did a great job of blocking it up and executing it. Jalen got us into getting it in and out of some plays. Man, I'm really happy for those guys because they're warriors. That offensive line's warriors. Lane is, Isaac is, all those guys. Jack Driscoll, man, I can't say enough about him. That he just keeps stepping into scenarios, right? There's naturally going to be bumps and bruises along the way on the offensive line. It's just so physical in there. And Jack Driscoll just continues to come in and play big time, big moments. I'm so happy Jack Driscoll's on this football team, and he played a heck of a game. So you didn't want to let me finish that one. I was still going on about Jack.
Well, yeah, we want to get home.
You're on the same plane we are. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, we give you a ride, damn it.
Yeah, I want to get home too.
I got a shower still. I got to get something to eat.
Change your jersey. But with all that, in building roots, using your philosophy, what does a win like this do for this team?
Yeah, Coach Wright always texts me before a road game, said you got to claw, scratch, whatever you need to do to take it out on the end, and that's gonna be. And he always says that to me. He's like, that's gonna build character. I love having Coach Wright as a man. I didn't know him before this. I'm so glad he's an Eagles fan, and so glad he wants to give me his knowledge as a coach. And he said that he's like, man, you guys just dug, clawed, and it's just gonna keep building who you are as a football team, and it really does, right? And so you go through that and. Those handshakes mean a little bit more in there. They ain't handshaking, we're dapping each other up and all that stuff. But they mean a little bit more. We've worked so hard at connecting, and then you get in there and you go through that, you bleed and sweat and grind together, and they mean a little bit more when you go out when you win it like that. So it will bring you closer, right? The guy in Chapel yesterday, who was actually his name's Wade Salem. The guy who did Chapel was actually a guy that my dad had worked with in the past at Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and that's what he talked about. He said, either teams throughout the year are going to come together or they're going to go apart. There's really no in between, right? And this team is continuing to come together because they love each other, right? They like what's happened with Cam. Like you asked me with Cam, they put their arms around him and welcomed him and made a big play when we needed it. And that's what's special about this team. We just got to keep it going. I know he wasn't. He was a hell of a player, though.
He was a hell of a player. And you know what happened with that, and I'm sure you're aware.
What a great time to be a Philly sports fan, right?
I'm saying. I mean,
these fans.
This has been true in Philadelphia.
Yeah, these fans. I tried to go to as many as I possibly could and said thank you because I felt like Washington, right? It felt like Washington. Kyler Murray, who's a great player. I got a lot of respect for him. I can see him struggling sometimes to make calls. We're in Arizona. Man, goodness gracious. I got a 5-hour flight back. We're in Arizona, and it came out the same way. I have a really good friend that I grew up with. His name is Jared. He lives in Arizona, but he just happens to be back in Buffalo today. But he would have been here, and he would have been going nuts. I got to give my shout out to my buddy Jared Propilia. Man, these fans are awesome. This is such a great sports town, and we appreciate the heck out of them. I mean, and it was special. I got home Friday, and it was pretty cool because I got home Friday, and I got home around the 7th inning, and it was one of those gloomy days, as you guys all know. And I sat there on my couch with my son and my sons, and we just watched the rest of the game, and it was like, man, playoff baseball is pretty sweet. And I'm hoping maybe I can get tickets for Friday night or something like that. Maybe, yeah, maybe. And but what an awesome time to be a Philly sports fan, right? What an awesome time to be a Philly sports fan. I'm excited for we obviously got a job to do, but I'm really excited for Coach Rivers' team to get going. It's really exciting to be a Philly sports fan, and Flyers too.
Who's in charge of stacking the free agent kicker board?
Howie and his staff, right? They I think that what you saw them do is they didn't do the conventional thing of going to a guy that's I don't want to say, they went to a guy that they felt the best about, right? And not necessarily a guy who had experience, but the guy they felt the best about, right? And what an unbelievable thing for Cam, and that he made that kick in the Red River rivalry, and then it happened. He got the better of Jalen and Lane this weekend, but he made that kick, and then he made this huge kick in this game today. And so Howie, man, I can't say enough of how good the relationship is with Howie and the communication that we have back and forth about everything. I love going into his office and just talking about what we're going to do to make this team better in all things, right? Well, hey, what's the first play, Nick? Great. Oh, hey, who are we signing for kicker? Right? It just goes both ways, right? And so, I really value that relationship and look forward to continuing to work with Howie and his staff.
A couple more. Final drive in Keith, 3rd and 12, the Dallas Goedert catch.
Did Jalen audible out of a play? And how often is he really doing that now? And is he right most of the time?
Yeah, Jalen's a stud, right? And that's why we spend so much time together, right? To say, hey, here's what we like versus this, here's what we like versus that. And Jalen's a really smart player, and he got us into a great check right there. We were anticipating one certain coverage. It wasn't that coverage. He got us to the correct play, and then stood in the pocket calmly and delivered a huge play to Dallas, who would have been a little bit short, and then Dallas, who is a monster with the ball in his hands. He is a beast with the ball in his hands, and he went out and he just finished that drive, and great play by those two guys, great play by the offensive line because they showed some pressure on that and brought some pressure, and great protection, great play by Jalen, great job getting us into a good play, and Dallas making the play.
In the meeting, what made you want to show the team video of different kicks in college?
Just the fact that he made some big kicks, and like I said, I saw the guys putting their arms around him all week, and wanted to do that as a coach too. Put our arms around him and give everybody really, we already had confidence in him. That's why we signed him, right? And then he kicked really well in practice, and he kicked really well in his tryout or whatever you want to call it. And then wanted to give everybody the confidence that I knew they already had in Cam, that he knew how to make a kick in a big game. All right, that's a big game. That's a huge game, right? And so I'm glad he was able to make that kick and go.
All right, thanks, folks. Jalen will be in a second.
Nick Sirianni, he is hyped up for Phillies, Eagles, you name it. He's ready to go.
Yeah, great shirt. Fighting's into the second round, NLDS. So great brotherly love there shown by Coach. Obviously, he's happy about the big win today. I mean, he understands when his team is not necessarily played at their best. And coaches like wins like this, obviously, because it gives them the opportunity to bring players back down to earth, right? So when you're 5-0, sometimes it's hard for players to really grasp the mistakes that they make out there in the game, right? You start stacking the wins, you're saying, oh, come on, man, we won the game. It's not that bad. But when you have a win that doesn't necessarily meet your standard, it's a lot easier to go in there and make those corrections. And I'll say as a player, it's a lot easier to accept that constructive criticism after you've gotten a W.
Well, at the end of the press conference, he was talking about Cameron Dicker, the kicker. And Dicker was asked in the locker room just a few minutes ago what was going through his head before kicking what ended up being the game-winning field goal. Here's what he had to say.
I was just looking at the clock, and I was like, oh, wow, we got 3 timeouts. I'm like, I wonder if all these are going to be TV timeouts. Seemed like they all were almost, and so it was just a lot of time going on. And whenever it was an incomplete pass, I was like, oh, cool, if you're rolling out there, I don't have to wait a bunch of time. Somebody's injured, another TV timeout, and I'm like, oh, another couple minutes. And so it was just one of those things where you're like, whatever, nothing I control. No, not at all. It was easy, same thing as going out there on a normal kick. You just run out and go make it.
They just dusted out the locker room a few days ago, threw his stuff in there, and now he's winning the game for the Eagles.
Yeah, and has the right approach, too. Like, yeah, you could tell he's obviously excited about kicking that field goal. But just hearing the thought process in his mind before that field goal kick. See, that's a window into what is going on in the kicker's mind. You never know what they're thinking about over there, but he obviously had a lot of process to get through.
I do love, that was one of my favorite nuggets from Nick Sirianni's press conference, that they showed highlights of him at Texas just to, it showed it to the whole team before the game. So on Saturday night, I thought that was really interesting because, the team, they don't know Cameron Dicker, right? So just being able to kind of get an introduction, hey, this guy's made some big kicks. Well, that came to fruition here tonight.
Sirianni always wants everybody to buy in. No matter what it is, no matter who the player is, they thought, see what he can do, so players know he's got their back.
Let me tell you, 9 years of playing. I never saw a highlight video of the kicker. I'm just letting you know that right now. I've never seen that. So when I played with a pretty good
one. If it works, it works.
And David Akers. So great job by Coach knowing which buttons to push and making Dicker feel like he's a part of the team and really introducing him to the rest of the teammates on the team. So that was awesome to hear. I tell you, man, Nick Sirianni and his whether it's his motivational speeches or the videos that he picks out to choose, that he picks out to show the team the night before the game, he's pushing all the right buttons this year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's 2 things that are in his 4 core, or is it the 5 core values, right? Connect and culture, right? And to me, like when you talk about those kind of dynamics, understanding what buttons to push, what levers to pull in any given situation, and sometimes that's him speaking to the entire team, sometimes that's him with a one-on-one situation. Understand that's one of the core values to being a coach, regardless, football coach, NFL, high school, Pop Warner, we're Little League baseball, whatever it is, having an understanding of how to those dynamics between player and coach, so important.
Well, because Nick Sirianni came to the podium in a Philly shirt, the Phillies took to Twitter. They said, Phils and a handshake birds. Bad weekend to be a Cardinal, huh?
Yeah, that's the brotherly love that we're talking about right there. And I love it too, man. You guys are Philadelphia, born and bred here, and I've been here for 24 years now, I believe. And the synergy in the city amongst the teams supporting one another. It's just a great time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. So I'm not surprised there. Coach Sirianni had the Red October shirt on. I believe it was Friday or Thursday at his presser. And comes to the podium there with the Phillies shirt on. It's a great feeling knowing that you got this sort of synergy going with all the teams here in the town.
And it didn't feel that way for me growing up. Like it felt like it was more like animosity in those situations.
Yeah.
Just it's fun to see, no question.
And even Bryce Harper last night when he was asked in the clubhouse,
Yeah.
he said, we're going to watch the Eagles win tomorrow before we focus on what's next. When you think about what's coming up for the Phillies, if for some reason they're going to be playing here on Saturday night and then Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday, let's hope South Philadelphia can survive.
Yes. It's going to be an entertaining weekend next weekend.
No question.
Well, we talk about Eagles-Cowboys coming up next Sunday and a lot of film, like you said, to really work on a lot of areas of improvement. Where do you think step one is when they open up this film from Arizona?
Oh, man, if you're the Eagles, you're probably saying to yourself, we got to get our running game back going. And I know they got a couple offensive linemen that got banged up. Mylotta didn't play. Even Dickerson was in and out of the game today. They certainly had the attempts there. I think Miles got 15 rushing attempts. That's usually around where you normally see him at, despite what happened last week when he carried the ball 27 times. And the Eagles want to run the football. And so that's an area they're going to get back to, trying to make sure they get that shored up, because that Cowboys defense is one of the best defenses in the league. And number 11 over there, you don't want to drop back throwing the ball too often. So I'd rather run at those guys than sit back there throwing the ball.
Yeah, we haven't hit the Jameson nightcap part of the evening yet, but I will say that defense, especially that defensive front, that's a tough group to be able to go against. They are better than the one the Eagles saw today out in the desert. So that's going to be a big challenge here on Sunday night.
And there's still going to be question marks, a lot of storylines swirling throughout the week on both sides of who's going to be playing for the Eagles and what the quarterback situation is going to look like for Dallas.
Yeah, this is going to be the game of the year so far for the NFL. You talking about Dallas? Big win today. I think fourth straight win without Dak in there as their quarterback. They're 4-1, right on the Eagles' tails at 5-0. So Sunday night matchup, that's going to be a good one. 4-1 versus 5-0. Yeah, they got the scheduling right with this matchup.
Not a lot of promotion needed for this one. I think the stories kind of write themselves. It's going to be a big game here on Sunday night.
Probably the biggest story will be whether or not Dak plays, right? That'll be the biggest question throughout the week, is whether or not Dak is going to play. And even if he does not play, Cooper Rush has done a good enough job out there that their defense doesn't ask him to do a whole lot. Just not make mistakes and turn the ball over. Their defense is holding teams to points. So that's going to be a heavyweight matchup. Our offense going up against that Cowboys defense.
And you have to think about it, too. They're in a rhythm with Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
They've played 4 full games with him. Dak went down in the beginning of game 1. So it's been Cooper Rush's offense up until this point.
Yeah, and that's where the Cowboys are going to be in a little bit of a difficult position, right? Because I'm pretty sure the starting quarterback wants to get back out there as soon as he can. But when a team is playing as well as they are without him out there, maybe you don't need to rush him back out on the field. So I'm so glad we don't have that problem to have to worry about. And for Dak, I'm sure he wants to get back in there. But at the same time, when things are going well, putting him back in the mix could sort of throw things off for that Cowboys team.
You played on a lot of Andy Reid teams where when the backup quarterback goes in, they kind of simplify the game plan. They make it so, hey, we just smash the easy button over and over and over and over again. Credit to Cooper Rush for certain for executing this game plan, but they're doing a lot of different things. Kellen Moore, give a lot of credit to him. You're going to have that offense ready to go, so you're going to have to stop the run. Tony Pollard had another X-play in the run game again today, a 40-plus yard run. Zeke Elliott is still going to be their early downs grinder. And then you have the pass game, which a lot of different weapons, and the ball's coming out fast. It's going to be a tough matchup here on Sunday.
This is where Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are going to really be put to the test. The first 4 weeks have been just dominant in every phase of the football, in coaching. Every area you look at, it's been pretty dominant. Today was a bit of a challenge. Next week, it's like, what are you made of?
Yeah.
And we know Jalen Hurts is a tough guy, but all the lights are shining bright. It's Sunday Night Football. You're 5-0. Like, what are you made of?
And it gets bigger each week. And the Eagles are in some unfamiliar territory, right? We usually get off to a little bit of a slow start and finish strong and making a playoff push. This year, they're off to a fast start, 5-0 for the first time since 2004. And I mentioned earlier, you become the hunted. You become the team that everybody is trying to beat. And that's where they are right now. It'll be a divisional matchup next week. Basically a battle for first place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a battle for first place. And these are the games you want to play in, though, as a player, right? These are the games you want to be in Sunday night in your building. You got a very good opponent coming in. So it's a nice measuring stick from the Eagles' standpoint. The Eagles can look at themselves and say, hey, this will be the best opponent that we faced this year. So we need to keep challenging and updating our resume ourselves each and every week.
And the Eagles had a tough loss in prime time, Sunday Night Football down in Dallas last year. That was week 3. That was a tough loss. And then remember that, was it week 18 last year or week 17 last year where the Eagles were playing practice squad players on both sides of the football because they had already secured their playoff spot. And so Dallas had an easy win. So 0-2 against the Cowboys last year. We'll see what kind of motivation that creates this year.
And I don't forget that last game. They ran the score up.
Oh, yeah.
They're out there setting records and
everyone's high-fiving. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Eagles didn't forget that last game.
Well, we're going to hear from a veteran on this team. Brandon Graham spoke at the locker.
Oh, man. I mean, we just anybody that they bring in, we try to make them feel like, like they've been a part of it because, I mean, they are a part of it. He came up big in a moment where we needed a kick to go up. I mean, you see they kicker, they had a backup kicker too, and, it could go the other way. Could have went the other way for us too. But it's just we preach family, and that's what we try to do. We try to at least for the year, everybody that come in, we are part of one goal, and that's to win the game. And whoever they bring in, we got to accept whoever they bring in, and we got to make them feel a part of it. And when you believe in somebody, it just helps them that much more, and it makes their confidence go even more. And I'm just happy that boy was perfect today. I know he had a lot of stress on himself, probably because, I mean, you going behind Jake Elliott, man, and that's a hell of a kicker too. And so I'm happy that he got the job done to help us win.
You've been around Kelsey.
Brandon Graham, of course, was talking about Cameron Dicker. This team, they're all talking about the kicker. 13 years in the NFL, post-game, he's talking about the kicker.
I'm telling you, they were shocked Saturday night when they rolled that video out. I'm telling you, I know they had to be. They can appreciate it, and it's something different, and it's great that the kid got to come in and kick a game-winning field goal today. But again, just listening to BG there, it just shows you what the culture is like in the locker room. And these guys are very welcoming, and even though I give the kickers and punters a little bit of a hard time, they are football players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like if anybody was like,
they are football players.
Why are we watching the highlights of the kicker tonight? They're saying like, yeah, we're watching.
Right, exactly.
So that always comes to the forefront here with Nick Sirianni.
Kickers are people too.
They are people too. They are.
And hey, he won the game tonight. But something to monitor definitely this week, the status of Jake Elliott, because he is one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Yeah, and honestly, he was the one injury that I was worried about the most, right? Because, when you bring a kicker in and he's new to the environment, sometimes that does not work out well for you. And so you could have a situation where a kick gets shanked there. So while Dicker did his job today, and I'm happy for him, obviously we want that Super Bowl winning field goal kicker back out there as soon as he can be out there.
Jordan Mailata, we'll keep an eye on his status.
Yeah.
Avonte Maddox, we'll keep an eye on his status. Landon Dickerson was in and out of this game. Hopefully he's okay for the long term. So a handful of those injuries to monitor here this week going into next Sunday night.
We have a tweet from Eagles legend Chris Long. Let's see what he's taking to Twitter. Can't believe I wasn't teammates with this Eagles.
I'm telling you.
I mean, does he need a statue too? Like, what the heck?
I'm telling you, man. Dicker the kicker his popularity has grown.
How many Dicker the kicker shirts are we going to see on sale tomorrow?
Knowing this city, there'll be a couple out there. Yeah, knowing this city, there'll be a couple out there. My only thing is, I'll say this. Jake Elliott is coming back.
Yeah, no problem. Next week. Eventually next
Jake
week,
Elliott
right?
is coming back. So, yes, we love you, Dicker the Kicker, but, you know, just saying.
These fans have a lot of props this year. They could be Batman. They can, be all about Dicker the Kicker. You name it. There's something for everybody.
And that's what happens when you're playing winning football.
Yes.
When you're playing winning football, stuff like this does catch on. And I tell you, Dicker is also a punter too, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize that. Yeah, so he's a punter and a kicker. He's a dual threat. I wonder if he could play a little slot receiver or something, or a little nickel cornerback or something. We got to find a way to keep him on the team now.
Now we're getting a little.
Yeah,
now we're getting a little crazy.
Jalen gets to the podium. Mike's getting a little out of control for us here.
Well, I mean, the love.
It's a little too early for the Jameson nightcap. We haven't gotten there yet. Different nightcap.
Well, I mean, listen, the love for Dicker the Kicker is growing out there, man. It's Chris Long. Once Chris Long chimes in, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get rid of Cameron.
When they came in my ear and they said Chris Long has something on Twitter, I'm thinking that could go a
go.
lot of different ways. Buckle up. Where's this going? And of course, it was for Dicker the Kicker.
It.
We love it. We love it. Well, we're looking at the schedule too. Following that Sunday Night Football is a bye for the Eagles. This is a much different schedule than it was last year. That bye didn't come until December, and you could feel it. It was a long road to December, but this is a perfectly placed bye weekend for sure. If they go into that bye 6-0, get some rest before the Steelers, that could be a good way to keep going.
Yeah, and obviously you don't want players to get banged up, but we're a little banged up right now, so you can almost use that extra week to get guys healed. Only problem I see with it is you got a long stretch to finish out the season.
The man, Jalen Hurts, he heard me. He's at the podium.
Just trying to put us in the best position to make a play. Obviously, in a crucial point in the game, he came up big. They were showing us a lot of different looks up front. They played a really good football game, but that was a moment in the game, very pivotal moment in the game. 3rd and long. Made a play. Dallas made a play, got to the right play, got to an advantageous play.
You ID'd a blitz there and went to one that would get out quicker, Dallas was saying. Is that the gist of it? Anything?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. You just try and play what you see out there. Sometimes you think you see something, you don't. Sometimes you have a really good grasp for it and you see it. And that was a moment in the game, crucial moment in the game where offensive unit was on the same page on that play, and we took advantage of the opportunity. He made a big-time play and effort after catching the ball.
So many passes horizontally in this game, I think more so than most of the season. Was that because of something they were doing on defense, or was that the game plan going in?
It's just kind of the pace of the game and how it went. Y'all didn't ask me any questions about this same football team this week, and I said they were really good. So here we are after a close game talking about the looks that they gave us, the looks that they gave us, and I think they they flew to the ball. They're very physical. They played physical defensively up front. They gave us some different exotic looks, and they did a good job with their scheme. I think we were just able to kind of find a way. We found a way.
I think there was 4 different times that you guys needed 1 yard, and that you were able to get the push from the offensive line. Just how did they play? It seemed like we really needed it, the offensive line. So.
Yeah, I draw a lot of respect towards that group we have. They worked their tail off. They're coached by the greatest to ever do it, Coach Stout. And regardless of the pieces that go in and out, it's interchangeable. And those guys played their tails off given the circumstances. A lot of them were put in. Jack, Opeta, Cam having to be ready when his number was called. Everybody. So it's a great example of accountability and everybody being ready when their number's called.
When you try to get to know your teammates, have you had the chance to speak with Dicker or talk to Dicker all the time?
Yeah, I've talked with him briefly. One thing I told him after the game was, I know this league is very a fast-moving pace. And for him to come in, get that phone call and be ready to answer and play the way he played today, I have a lot of respect for him. And I know, he helped his team out a lot today, and he created a lot of value for himself.
Jalen, seeing Jason Kelsey come
out of the locker room at halftime with the helmet on. What does that do for the entire team?
Well, we all know he's a soldier, and that's something that we can't take for granted. It's something I damn sure don't take for granted. I admire his leadership. I admire the way he plays the game, his toughness. He's relentless. He's everything I admire in a competitor. He's one of the greatest to play the position, and he's in the air of his own.
Sort of along those lines, how important is it in your mind for a team to be tough, to prove that it's tough?
You know, everyone is not easy. Everyone is not easy. I personally have mixed emotions about the game itself, but we found a way. We found a way.
What are those mixed emotions?
As a competitor, when you have the ball in your hands at the end of the game, you want to take advantage of it and not give the opposition the opportunity to win the game, tie the game, whatever it is. And I don't look at anybody else but myself. I look in the mirror and I look at myself and I ask myself, what could I have done more to not put the team in this position towards the end of the game? How could I have gotten us in the end zone? I know we had different things that come throughout the game, but that's what it is. You know, what could I have done more to put us in a better position? You know, I feel like in many ways, you know, I feel like I let them down. You know, just with opportunities we didn't take advantage of, and you know, the ball touches my hands every play. You know, those are the mixed emotions I have. The other side of it is, you know, we talk about playing together. We talk about having each other's backs. And that's what we had today. You know, the worst feeling about it is, you know, when we walked off the field, when I walked off the field, even towards the end of the game, you know, we kicked the field goal. Dicker made a great play and put this team in a great position. But there's nothing that I can do to affect it. I mean, I can't control what their kicker does. You know, he missed it. Our kicker made ours. You know, I can't control that. But I can control what we do in the second quarter, in the first quarter, when I had a ball in my hands. I can do that. You know, it's...
Jalen, how difficult is it at the end of the game, because you do want to punch it in, but you're kind of serving two masters, and you took a bunch of time off the clock, so you're trying to accomplish two different things. Does that make it, in a weird way, a little bit more difficult? It's not weird. I remember an experience of the national championship game my freshman year. We go out there and score, great play, and left like under 2 minutes on the clock, and Deshaun Watson goes down, and he goes and wins the game. You know, those are all things that are flashing through my head in that moment. But ultimately, it comes down to the way you execute, and it comes down to the trust you have on both sides of the ball. I don't like putting the team in a position where their kicker has an opportunity to tie or win the game, or our defense is on the field or whatever. Like, if I can control it, I want to take advantage of that. And that's just my competitive nature with it.
So, Mark, you and Mark being as the you're still doing the NFL team. Do you sense that each week that will bring out the best in each opponent, and that this was also a reflection of that?
I think we're going to get everybody's best. You know, we're going to play a lot of good football teams this year, and we have to be ready for the challenges ahead. We're a really good football team, and we're still growing. We're still learning, and we're not. We haven't played our best yet, so it's just a ton to learn from. I'm hungry and eager to get to that point, but it's a process. Rome wasn't built overnight, and these are the same things that I've said when we were 2-5. Nothing changes. My mindset doesn't change. I personally, honest, I hate hearing 5-0. I don't like to hear it, because nobody wanted to mention the record when we were 2-5. Nobody wanted to talk about that. So I don't want to hear it now. Can we come in here, control the things we can, attack every day, and just grow and climb? Like, that's what matters, the process, not anything else. What can we do? So It's a ton to learn from. You know, a lot of respect for their team. And, you know, we got to learn from it, and we will, you know, and we're hungry for it. We're going to enjoy this because winning is not easy. Winning is hard. You earn it every week. We put a lot of work into this every week, and, you know, we just want to go out there and play to the standard that we set for ourselves. And it's just the competitive nature we have.
What kind of relationship do you have with Donovan?
I have a lot of respect for Donovan. I have a lot of respect for the guys that have come before me, the Roundels, I mean everybody, but the guys that kind of play the game the way that I play the game, Randall, Vic, Five, all of those guys, and they've been pivotal in my transition into this role now, and you know I have a lot of respect for them. We have a really good relationship, always helpful. Everybody wants to see, you know, me win and do successful things and see the Eagles win. So I have a lot of respect for all of those guys.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That was quarterback Jalen Hurts. But earlier in the show, we talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's first interception as an Eagle. So Fran, of course, broke it down. And here's this Ricoh review.
All right, so this week here on the Ricoh Review, I want to look back to the first half, the interception for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, his first here in an Eagles uniform. It came on the first play of the drive, 1st and 10. Eagles here in a 5-man front. This is going to be just a basic 4-man rush. You're going to get basic 4-man rush, like I said, from the Eagles defensive front. Hassan Reddick is kind of looking like he's spying here on Kyler Murray. When you have 5 guys up on the line of scrimmage, that means you only have 6 on the back end in coverage. This looks to me like it's a version of cover 3 here with a post safety, both corners dropping into the deep third, and that leaves you 3 defenders underneath. Now, offensively, you're going to get a vertical route concept from the Arizona Cardinals. You're going to get a skinny post, an over route rather, from Zach Ertz. You're going to get the other tight end running another skinny post across the middle of the field, and then you got a big post over the top. Now, these 2 routes here in the middle of the field, they are meant to attract the eyes of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They want to hold that post safety to really try and hit that big post over the top to Marquise Brown. Now, we're going to let this run here for a second. Watch Gardner-Johnson in the middle of this field. He's going to open his hips up to these 2 receivers. And when that happens, Kyler Murray thinks he's going to have that deep post behind it. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson does an outstanding job of reading the quarterback here. He's got his eyes, obviously one eye on these 2 routes, but another eye on the quarterback. And he sees that this big post, he has an understanding, hey, this is probably where they're going to try and attack on this play. Watch the reaction here from C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's going to flip his hips, come back around, track the ball, and come down with the interception. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, his first interception as an Eagle, a big one in the first half.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. All right, 3 nominees, fellas. Here we go. You guessed it. Dicker the Kicker is nominee number 1. Game-winning field goal for the kicker. Next up, Dallas Goedert. This is a 3rd quarter catch. We talked about it in the kickoff show, Fran. Yards after the catch. He's got it. Jalen Hurts, number 3. This is 2nd quarter, his 17-yard scramble. He just took it himself. He said, I got this, boys. What do we think?
Do it, Ike. You know you want to.
No, I don't. I don't want to, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going with Dallas Goedert.
All right.
Should we go with Dicker the Kicker?
I don't know.
You guys do
2 weeks in a row, you've gone offense, and you've really disappointed your defensive guys.
Right.
So you got to go follow it up with the special teams player.
Yeah, I'll go Dicker the Kicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with Dallas Goedert. He had a 5 yards shy of 100. You saw him in the screen game. You saw him down the field. He had that 31-yard catch that we just saw there in the highlight. Give me number 88.
By the way, I've been right, too, on the last 2 player of the game picks. The fans have agreed with me.
It depends on your definition of right.
Yeah. Because your defensive guys are still like,
Man, the fans agreed. It was Devontae Smith, and then it was
Miles Sanders.
It was Miles Sanders last week.
Oh my gosh, we'll get your votes in. All right, we teased it, Eagles fans. Eagles, Cowboys, Sunday Night Football. This is your Jameson nightcap as we look ahead to next week. We said it already. The Cowboys are 4-1. They defeated the Rams today, 22-10. Rams are struggling a little bit this season. Cooper Rush, talk about next man up. He's really done it for the Cowboys to get them to this point.
Yeah, Cooper Rush is a game manager, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and
no
Dallas is doing a great job of not having him really play outside of what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
They're letting their defense sort of lead the way. So to me, that's where the heavyweight matchup is at, is this Eagles offense going up against that Cowboys defense.
Yeah, you saw the stat line there. It's not like Cooper Rush threw for 303 touchdowns.
Right.
This was a run game and defensive game here for the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles can't let them replicate that game plan on Sunday night.
All right, we're going to have you covered all week long, Eagles fans, and get you ready for Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. The Birds are 5-0. We're going to keep rolling. Thanks so much for watching, and go Birds.